All right, welcome. This is a pop-up webinar for us to sort of have some exchange, have some good information to support you on your BioWell journey. Some of you have been on it for quite a while. And Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, all the other good holidays that I'm not naming right now, whatever you may celebrate, or celebrate nothing, and we're just celebrating life and being together and the measurement of life. That's a good thing too. Hey, Leslie Bennett's here. That's great. Great to see you. So there are several people who are getting this for the recording, and welcome to you as well. And several new faces here. And hey, Tom, good to see you too. I'm starting to recognize faces and names and putting them together. So it's wonderful to be able to have a format where we can do this until we can have our real retreat that we still want to be able to do, the live one. Likely it'll be in Florida because it's the most easy place to operate and interact with each other without having to have so many limitations. So we'll see about that. Okay, let me get right into all of the good stuff that we are going to be doing. And what I wanted to say, and you guys, I was still watching people come in, so if you will catch it, that'd be awesome. All right, good afternoon, evening, morning, all of it, all different time zones. Super happy that we're here. Just wanted to remind you that if your image and likeness, it's only for this use. And if you are okay with it, sometimes we'll take a snapshot like a group of us together. If you're good with that, then we will do that too. If you're not good with it and you want to leave your camera off, then that's all right too. You can change your name as well in the three dots up in your own square, like Hollywood Squares, if anybody even remembers that show. And next to in the three dots, you can choose rename and just choose something that's not offensive. Of course, we know our community wouldn't do anything odd. Well, odd's relative. So there will be disclosure of details today that you will likely see names of people that belong to other people, not necessarily mine. I've scrubbed mine for names, but it does happen. And so keeping things in this sacred space, in this container, while we hold people's health and well-being in our consciousness. So just to have that in, as a knowledge point. We do not offer medical advice or diagnoses, of course. You always consult your physician for that. This is for educational purposes. And let us be honorable, respectful, and graceful of what is shared. And nothing is to be discussed outside of our group, or certainly with any names associated. Certainly you will want to discuss things that you've learned in here. And by all means, we want that. We want you to go out and share. And just being honorable that it's, oh, I learned this because Kim Kardashian was in my class or something like that. That's actually happened. So not with BioWell, but with another class. So looking forward to getting into some details here. Okay, great. Perfect. I just saw the chat, so I'm being, just let me know, Katie and Casey, if there's
I,
anything that I need
yeah,
to attend to.
you're good.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So, all right. So we would love to know where you're from. And Casey, you've got a poll. Would you spawn that just to be able to hear where people are from, whether or not who's got a BioWell? If you can go ahead and answer, it's just 4 very quick questions, yes or no. And that really helps me to switch up some of my messaging in how we will roll here today. Good, more people have BioWell. It could be almost even. Oh, it is almost even. Okay, perfect. Great. mostly North America representing, some in Europe. A lot of people around the world were getting this for the recording. So great. We're going to be doing lots of interpretation today. And just so you know, we are reformatting the accessories course. We'll be sending out an email about that. All right, cool. That was 80%. All right, so 80% is a good place for us to go off of a barometer. So most people have a BioWell and hence interested in interpretation. So awesome. Okay, there's something really in, oh wait, do, if I close it, does it close it for everybody?
I ended it. Everyone can see the results now.
Okay, great. It just popped back on for me. It's probably because we hit the button at the same time. So something that I have been spending some time thinking about is who are the practitioners of the future, that what I'm finding in the embracing of some of what is happening is shamans are coming online and seeing that the use of technology and how it can benefit their clientele, themselves, etc. So I'm starting to really believe that the practitioners of the future must embrace technology. And if we don't, then we're going to kind of be left in the dust. I mean, it's like more choose your technology that makes sense for your practice and what you do and embrace it and not to be fearful of it. There are still several healers that are like, oh my gosh, I can never touch a computer, things like that, where that's not, they're not comfortable with, the whole exchange of how technology works. So we just want to find our comfort zone. So helping other people be able to see and helping them be able to facilitate them seeing is really helping to bring people along in their own belief systems, as you will see in some of the cases that we're going to be speaking about. We are essentially, with the BioWell, we're making the invisible visible. So this is a real empowerment to people and practitioners to be able to see their energy. I want to just have a moment of gratitude and speak to specifically, we have Katie, which most of you already know, and Casey, who is relatively new to our team, and they are helping us be able to be facilitated as a group today. So Katie is reachable at BioWell at Heal and Thrive, and Casey, I guess through support, but mostly she's here supporting our connection today on Zoom. So if there's any questions that they can answer, they are here for you. So we can keep moving. So most of you know me. I'll just do this very, very quickly. I am your friend in science, spirit, and community. This is my second career after a rough wake-up call. My full story and several other interviews are on Gaia TV if you want to know more. And then also on my website as well, Heal and Thrive. I'm a theologian essentially with no dogma. That's my deal. It's I went to graduate seminary, studied theology, got my master's in theology and energy medicine with a special emphasis in medical intuition and spiritual counseling. So I actually am ordained in 3 different churches. My master's thesis is it was a novel putting together of ideas of the nexus of body-mind connection. And I'm proposing that there really is a neurophysiology to being present, transcendence, and embodied ascension. So I work in these domains alongside physicians. So it's now a 16-year history with the GDV EPI camera and BioWell technology since it came out in 2014. I think I'm together with my peers when we speak about that we have a very concentrated goal of helping to end human suffering. So we have a few things to offer you. Right now, actually, I didn't know I was breaking the rules, but I broke the rules. And we are sweetening the deal offering 20% off the BioWell, which has never been done before. I decided to just do something more and help people be able to have an easier on ramp. So if you're not a BioWell owner, now is a really good time because it's usually that the company, well, it's been in the last 2 years that the company has done a 10% off, and then we decided to do a matching 10% off. So that's how we got to 20%. The early bird rate for the March 4th through 6th certification course, this is where you become a BioWell practitioner. An email will be sent to you within 48 hours, hopefully sooner, but just gives us enough time to get the recording done and it all packaged up and all the links and things and the resources that we are going to be mentioning throughout this webinar. And you'll get a parting gift if you stay to the end. So, all right. I want to state this as a problem that I was speaking to earlier, that as healers and health practitioners and physicians, our work is mostly invisible. And yes, we can see how people have a tipping point of things, but oftentimes our work is mostly invisible. So the solution is that BioWell actually makes the invisible visible so that our clients and patients can get involved. And what's the benefit of them getting involved? They transform. They transform because they can see the results of their emotional life on their physical well-being. So it's just, light bulbs, light bulbs, really, really important. So just very, very briefly, because most of you already know this, the BioWell is a 21st century, essentially Carillion version of Carillion photography. And what it's doing with its special camera is snapping. I'm going to go into detail about that, about the mechanisms of how it works. But it's the latest in a bioelectrophotography and biophotonic imaging and gas visualization, gas discharge visualization. All those terms are interchangeable. Choose one, stick with it, however it works for you. This is a device for real-time assessment of measuring stress and energy and finding the balance in how it is that our environment interacts with the outer environment. We can also measure the environment and water using the accessories. So using the fingertip meridians to identify the changes in the human energy field as it relates to things that we might be adapting through. It's a significant feature in being able to develop subtle energy sciences to support us in clinical practice. The thing that I love about the consideration of where we're at now is that we are using the light emanations and the fact that we are light beings constantly emitting light. And as a reminder, every living organism contains electrical charges within its body and emits as a light. So as practitioners, we capture this phenomena and then we tell a story based on the patterns that the light is giving us. BioWell creates this as a modern day intersection, I think, of chemistry and quantum physics. So it's a real advantage. So this is something new to people who have taken the course before, that I've been doing a little bit more research into the mechanisms of light. And several of the practitioners here are light practitioners, color acupuncturists, color puncturists, photon wave devices. We're using light as a mechanism for healing because we are light. So then it has to do with resonance. So biophotons is one of the things that we are measuring, not with a photomultiplier, but as you know that the corona discharge is actually giving us biophoton light in patterns different than a different technology in the way that it's measured, such as a photomultiplier, which I have used, but you have to have a Faraday cage. It's much more difficult to bring into everyday life. The BioWell is so easy to be able to interact with. So it really looks at biophoton by definition is light as a particle. And what I want to share with you is Nobel Prize winning Albert Santin-Giorgi. He won the Nobel Prize for discovering ascorbic acid, vitamin C. He also discovered that light striking the body alters its basic chemistry and biological functions. So the digestive processing and hormonal and enzymes effects they've been measured. So this kind of interaction is really something otherworldly. So it could explain also why color and light therapies actually work. And they work better when we find the resonance for what it is that, and when I mean resonance, I mean the like for like. This is how homeopathy works. It's how Royal Rife made his devices. When you find a frequency that is a frequency match for what needs to be worked on or balanced within a system, then that resonance can be absorbed in the body. All healing is really self-healing. So light transfers energy, this is one of the mechanisms, to the mitochondria within the cell and assists the body in healing itself. So even though we call ourselves healers, I really have to give much more praise to the person that might be on my table or in my room or on the other side of Zoom or wherever. They're the ones really doing the work. What we're doing is opening a portal of being able to remind them of what is possible. So we take that role very seriously, obviously, everyone that's here. And I so appreciate our dedication. So what makes us unwell? Well, imbalances for sure. And the thing that is fascinating about using a tool where we're using light as a measurement, such as the BioWell and photomultipliers, and there's probably other devices out there, though I'm pretty up on devices, and I don't know of another one that is, they may treat with light, but they're not necessarily assessing what's going on by looking at light, besides photomultiplier and BioWell. So the thing is that months before things can happen in our physical bodies, we can see a lack of coherence that might be going on. And that is this sort of 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. 4 is when things have already become symptomatic. And it would be really good to have an intervention prior to the symptom actually taking place. So that's really what this slide is about, is stage 1, where you can see where incoherence and disruption is happening, and then be able to make an intervention for ourselves, watch the patterns, because the language of the body is giving us something to be able to be responsive to as we pay attention to it. And it's another reason why we want to hang out with electron donors, such as Tamalee and I, we were saying about animals that are always, they're unconditional love. They just know how to give that. And that's an electron donor. Versus an electron stealer on the opposite spectrum would be like an energy vampire. So we want to mitigate those in our lives as much as possible. So as BioWell practitioners, we are studying patterns. And this is, I'm going to go quickly into the mechanisms here because many of you here already know that, but this is for people who might be seeing BioWell as far as how it works and what are the mechanisms. And in my vote, I don't think you can hear this stuff too much. So what happens when we take a scan? A perturbation happens because we have hit scan inside the software, and a pulse of electricity goes through, not something that a person usually feels. And what that does is make an interaction at the end of the fingertips. And we are scanning like an electron cloud with that special camera. Whoops. With that camera, we are being able to see what is yielded as light, as photons, turned into pixels by the fact that we've got this CCD camera, which stands for Charged Coupled Device. The camera takes thousands of images in seconds, and the images are then mapped to the various organs and systems and ultimately correlates to the Chinese meridian system by the use of the Sujok Korean hand system and the Jingwell points. So what we're not measuring, we're not an aura camera. We are not looking at the colors of the field. Even though our software has colors to them, it's not about this necessarily telling us a story of, oh, you should be a writer because you've got green in your field, or you're very spiritual because you've got purple or bluish, or or you've got clouds or whatever. It's very different for what we're doing with BioWell. Okay. So what are we seeing? What are some of the outputs? The outputs are the joules, and we're using an actual classic term in physics of joules is the unit of energy. It tells us what is the capacity for that organism to be able to carry and do work. So that is essentially we're just using the classic physical terms, the professional terms. The symmetry has to do with the balance of the left right sides. So in the middle one, we're seeing what is on the right projection and what is on the left projection. So we're seeing a total, and those pixels are counted and they are mapped to every organ and system throughout our software. And it's giving us kind of a layered view of how the body is adapting and how is it, and what what organs and systems are utilizing energy the most or the least. And then we'll be able to tell more of a story as we go and unfurl the story. So the radial diagrams are both a left-right quantitative analysis because they are giving us numbers. The qualitative is in your eyes. It's what you're able to see and the intake that you have with the person with whom you're working. The area diagram is quantifying the system status. It's really our adaptation. In what organ and system is the body adapting through? This is very helpful information. Some people adapt through their heart. Some people adapt through their thyroid. Some people adapt through their liver. So it's a very helpful thing because you can tell for yourself when you're getting a little bit out of balance. And you can also tell, of course, tell for other people, but you're going to have yourself to scan on a more regular basis so you can watch those patterns and see how that manifests. The energy quantifies the amount. What are the energy reserves in that organ system? And the marrying of these two radial diagrams is important, which is done in the software. For chakras, we are less looking at the physical body and more looking at the psycho-spiritual, emotional, and energetics of the body. So it is also a stress assessment for how it is that we are managing our emotions. It's quantifying energy in each chakra. So each of those, the little balls that you see representing the chakras there, they can be opened up in the software and give you a lot of data. So if you don't naturally speak chakra or you don't naturally speak meridians, it's all in the software to be able to assist. And if it's left, right, or on different sides, there's different meanings to why it's that way. So these are things to get into in the analysis. So the left side is meaning more feminine, more introspective. And when I say left side, I'm meaning left side of the body. It would be the right side of the screen. The right side is more masculine, having to do with the world, the outputs, your relationship to the world, how you communicate, what you're doing with your energy in action. And that's on the left side of the screen, but the right side of the body. So just want to make you aware, for those that don't have this book, this is the closest thing that we have to a textbook. It's the closest thing we have to a textbook. It's in color, so I'm sorry that it's not a cheaper book than it is, but I think when I last checked, it was $52 on Amazon, and it's because it's all in color. But it is like I said, the closest thing besides the manual, which you all have access to even if you're not a BioWell owner, that's on the website. You can easily download it. So there's also a thorough review of a case that I presented that Constantine put in there. And I also presented this. So this was a woman with a case of bladder cancer and uterine hyperplasia. And what we found was that the problem was in her tooth, not in her bladder. So the full presentation of that is on the Science and Information Spirit. This was the Congress that I presented at. I've done it live there in Russia. And then in recent years, because many of us can't get to Russia, it's online now. The Congress is mostly online. So the full viewing of that is there. So let me just move this along. So ultimately, what we're going to be getting into, I focused today's presentation on the four pillars of the BioWell analysis. So I've got a couple of cases in the endocrine system, a couple of cases in the GI system, and a couple in the autonomic nervous system, and a couple with emotions. So you can be able to see, and of course there's a lot of crossover because we can't be reductionistic and think, oh, something is only going to be in one area and not the other.
Hi, Thea.
Um, okay, I muted her. Okay. Okay, so the endocrine system. So I'm going to take us into the software here in just a moment. And okay, great. Thank you. Thanks for putting the links in. As I go, Casey and Katie will be putting links in the chat so that you can follow along with those, and then they will also be in the email giving you the recording links and all that good stuff. So the common things that we see with the endocrine system are adrenal fatigue or adrenal sort of being flagged. It doesn't even have to get all the way to adrenal fatigue, but it just is an opportunity for seeing that there is warning signs. Remember, we can see things biophotonically way early to be able to do an intervention. We can, very common issues, also we will be finding are sleep issues. And then, of course, hormonal changes, menopause and andropause. That's the male version of menopause. And of course, there's lots within the endocrine system because the endocrine system is really the builder of the whole organism. So it seems unfair to just be focused on a couple of those there, but for the purpose of today, we kind of have to be focused. Okay, oops, let me go into, before I carry us there, let me stop the share. And are there any questions about what I have presented so far? I'm going to take you into the software. Okay, cool. All right. All right, so the focus is on the endocrine system. Okay, so one of the first things that we like to do and is just take them and make a visual analysis by moving everything into the compare mode. It allows us to be able to see what's happening at a bigger, broader picture. So this field looks really, really good. This is like excellent. This is probably just an artifact that didn't get erased out of there, a little bit of light. But this is what we look for, is that beautiful bright blue to be homogeneously all the way around. We do see a pattern here at the respiratory and throat, larynx, trachea, which seems to be a modern day issue. I have yet to measure a person that has no pattern there. So when we go to, this is all looking normal. So really what I'm showing you here is that this person is actually very, very healthy. There's not a lot to report. Everything is within the norm range and optimal for all of these for our quick look. And what I wanted to show here, let's see. This one has to do with, oh, I changed my notes in here. Okay, so when the software, right now the software, because this is when it was older, the number 4 was the liver. So what I'm showing you is that what's active in her is that she has, let me see if I can get to, that's actually not going to be a good way to do it. I'll come back to that. What's active is that she's just started her menstrual cycle. And the liver you're going to see active. And the liver is part of the endocrine system and the digestive system. So there's a very important connection between both of those systems and the liver. And we're going to be getting more into that when I go into the GI. So just notice, you can see these are only 26 because at the time that's all we had. Today, if you're male, we have 32. numbers that are on the bottom for the legend. So this is actually a very healthy response. So if this person was in your office or you were seeing them, then you would say, okay, well, gosh, there's really not much going on. Everything's within the norm range pretty much. The only thing that's being flagged is the liver. All right, so then let me go back into the database and show you the fingers, because even though this is not all the way filled in, this is what menstruation can look like with women. So where that inner noise, that the little pixels, the orangish pixels, get more filled in when a woman is on her cycle. So these were all taken on the same day, and they can also change based on if you did a scan where a person isn't really making good contact. So the fingers that we look at would be the main three fingers, the forefinger, middle finger, and the ring finger. These three are the main ones that we look at for where there's inner noise. And I'm not going to get into other causes of inner noise as far as demonstrating it, but I'll mention here that some of the other causes of inner noise can be toxicity and electromagnetic sensitivity. And then there's certain parameters to look at because the size of the finger does matter there. So essentially what we're saying is that her chakras are all in the norm range, which is on either side of these green areas. We expect to see urogenital, and we expect to see liver activity. So this is where everything is falling within the norm range here. So just wanted to show you what that actually looks like. So moving on to a sleep issue. Oh wait, let me move out of, clear these out and go into here. And now going to move these into compare. Always good to go right into compare. So this is a person that has known insomnia, pancreas issues that are going on, and hemorrhoids. So you can see it's a very full field, but I said she, I'm sorry, it's a he. This person there's a lot of energy here. One of the things that we want to go look at is how regular is this stress? Can you guys see who that is? Okay, and then with the filter, so what you can immediately deduce here is that with the filter, you can see that well, gosh, it just goes really straight back to kind of in the norm optimal range. And that is because you're filtering out the systems that give you the indication of stress. I realize for some people, you don't know what the filter is. The filter is just a piece of polyethylene, a very special plastic that we put on the BioWell electrode when we're taking a measurement. And what it does is it filters out psychospiritual, emotional aspects and only focuses on the filter. So we can see that the cause of a lot of this is emotional for this person. Now, what to pay attention to here is how erratic this energy is. The energy is very quick to make these highs and lows, and the cerebral zones is something to pay attention to, because look at how dramatic this is in this section. This is something that, he's complaining about insomnia. And then you also have the epiphysis. Now, this person also happens to live in the Eastern Bloc countries and maybe doesn't get enough sun. The epiphysis is the pineal gland. And these kinds of things where cerebral zones, pineal, this is giving us indicator that the endocrine system needs some balancing. And then you can also see by the HS numbers on the bottom, hopefully you can see that on my screen. I'm raising it a little bit to see if that helps. The 95 and 1.24 on the bottoms, those HS numbers, are giving us the coherence, or in this case, lack of coherence between right and left hemispheres of the brain. So this is just something to be attentive to when we're looking at what areas involve the endocrine system. So this energy diagram is very much going to follow what we were just looking at. And you can see the low, the really incredible low at the cerebral zones. So these were taken more recently because this person is, now we see 32 essential landmarks. And there's also, the prostate is really high. So this is a kind of a really good image for you to see that a person is in danger zone. They are not getting enough rest. They are likely not getting enough light or the appropriate types of light, because the epiphysis measurement can tell you that. You have a high measurement of prostate. The person might be sitting too much as well. The liver is also high. Even though it's shadowed, it's saying that it's still high. And look at how many other things related to the spine. The whole body is stressed out, and that is what will happen when we're losing sleep. So this 18, this is a really, really big concern for the person being able to begin to heal. So the first thing that you would say to this person, we got to work on your insomnia, because no self-healing is going to take place until there can be some self-regeneration. The coronary vessels, that also can relate to brain communicating also with the heart. And when we see these really, really low, it could be telling us that they were high already for a period of time, and then they went low, because we'll have inflammation, and then all of a sudden crash. And that's what these other systems are telling us. There's inflammation likely in the spine. There's inflammation in the respiratory, in the respiratory system, the throat, larynx, trachea, and the liver. So, and of course, and the prostate, as we already were speaking. So this is an intervention really needing to happen. So just wanted to give you a little bit of information about the focus of the endocrine system in that regard. Okay, I'm going to go back into my slides, and any questions about those cases before I move on to the GI? Great. And you can hold questions until the end, of course, as well. Going back into the slides here, what I wanted to show you is the next area that we're going to be paying attention to for the pillar is the gastrointestinal system. And the common issues are really all parts of the digestion: ascending colon, descending colon, the immune system. A lot of people forget that there's so much of gut health and immune system very interrelated with each other. And I'm giving you the system here that it's interrelated through, which is gut, it's GALT, is gut-associated lymphoid tissue, and also the liver. So I mentioned liver in the endocrine, but also in the gastrointestinal. So the other areas are the duodenum, the blind gut, cecum, and appendix. When we're talking about blind gut, which is what is in our software, it's the appendix, cecum, and the ileocecal valve in the ascending. So when you see that combination, that's giving you a clue, some patterns in there where to pay attention to. And then, of course, transverse and descending colon make up. But digestion really begins in the mouth. So that also involves pancreas. Okay, so now I want to take you into the cases I have prepared for this. And here. So this is a person who has a long-term digestive disorder. This is, I will actually go and put it into compare so that we can see it here, but you can see that it's a very full field. Let me move over to here first. Okay, so chakras, okay, things are there moving around. It's okay, probably dealing with a little bit of grief or something where that heart chakra was out of bounds almost. And this is all looking pretty normal. So this is a kind of a typical kind of a chronic type of thing where sometimes you will see highs and lows in a person. The organs disbalance, when you see a bar going over on the right side, is telling a person take rest. Take rest. When you're seeing the bar going over on the left side, it means take action. This is more sympathetic and parasympathetic related. So if that was ever a confusion before in your notes, please make note of it now. And then when we move over, so this is interesting because this person also has difficulty with sleep. So there are some certain patterns that we can see, and there will be other people that we see as well. So do you see how on different days, when a person is dealing with digestive issues, their kind of normal is a lot up and down because the stress is really profound in the system. And our goal to help is to help the person figure out, well, what is going on at the stress level to be able to, or is it parasites, or whatever the means are within the scope of your practice to be able to look and see to help the person. Beautiful. But then helping to turn the light bulbs on in the individual so that they can start to make some of their lifestyle course corrections. Now, this person happened to be a DJ, and he was up a lot, but somehow he wears blue light glasses all the time. So this is something that he's actually treating for, versus the other person that we saw with the epiphysis, where it was really low and sleep was very difficult. That person's an insomniac. That person is not doing any interventions. There's no treatments going on. So this person knows that, oh my gosh, I'm up in really late hours, and at least I can do this thing to help myself. So that is pretty balanced. You will notice these two numbers on the bottom. Once again, they're giving you a high, there's a margin of where we fall out of coherence, and the right brain is using, you would say, more energy. And he is a very creative person, yes, but we're also talking about adaptation. So we really want, within our levels of adaptation, our body to be able to find its equilibrium between both hemispheres of the brain. And that's what we're looking at. So the ideal number doesn't matter so much, even though if we were to say what the ideal is, it's 0, which is what your calibration unit calibrates to. But the number itself, so long as they're both close to each other, is really what we want. If they're both like this, where you've got a big difference, my determination that I've made in the thousands of scans that I've looked at are, I don't want to see a delta greater than 0.10 before I will do an intervention. And the intervention I usually do is give them their sound recording. And the sound recording, it's a personalized sound meditation that comes from the chakra tab. I'll show you that for those that are new here in just a moment. So this is a good view to be able to see where the sleep stuff happens for him is throat, larynx, trachea, because he also snores. And so the respiratory system and the throat, larynx, trachea, the trachea gets agitated when we're snorers. And so that is a reason that you will see such a difference on that number 17. Oftentimes, and this is also in the balance tab is where you are able to tell the difference between when something is it thyroid or is it throat, larynx, trachea. Because when we're in the energy field, it looks like it's all together. Throat, larynx, trachea, thyroid. But in the balance tab, you can be able to tease that apart. So we've got some liver, we've got pancreas and spleen, and he is a ruminator. And then we've got thyroid gland, and that's probably having to do with some regulation of his overall digestion. So here you can see that it's, about maybe a couple weeks later, he was going through a digestive flare of an issue, and you can see how it just robs energy from him. Everything gets lowered, and that's what also this is the best pattern to be able to see that difference. But his brain, interestingly, has a little bit more equilibrium despite the stress, because the energy is actually going to the organs that need the support, which is digestion. So, okay, now let me go to the database. If there's what I wanted to show you here is thyroid, throat, larynx, trachea. This is what I was talking about that you can see in this pattern. But then when you go to the balance tab, you will see thyroid separated out, number 7, and then throat, larynx, trachea, number 17. So those can be separated out. You can also, in your software, just click on endocrine system or digestive system. Any of these, you can just click on for more information there. Okay, so moving on to the next case that I want to demonstrate. Actually, let me go clear this out. And here, so this next case, I think the story can be told really well just right here. What happened for this woman, she had an umbilical hernia with surgical, when they fix it, they put a surgical mesh, or sorry, during surgery, they put a mesh in order to keep the organs in, put the hernia back in. Hernia just means that a tissue is poking through in an area where it shouldn't be. So the mesh is used in order to help put the organs back where they, in some sort of a form of connection. Well, there are many, many, many problems that happen with the mesh. This woman, not only did she have lifetime issues where she ultimately got this umbilical hernia, but now she was part of the recall because the mesh itself was recalled. And what a mess, because now she's essentially living with a poison in her system, and she can't get rid of it because there are lawsuits and all kinds of stuff out there for people that have had these kinds of difficulties. And I was just trying to help this woman find some grace and value in her life again, because she had lost so much of her capabilities. She was very active prior. So this was in the time where, in the software where you can see the liver is high, she was constantly having to deal with infections of different types, and just trying to regulate herself was very, very difficult. So you can see that there's just a lot of stress in general for her whole system. And her, let me actually move all of these into the compare, and then I can show you. So the consistency for her was pretty much there. These are her patterns. You can see the overlaying, and it's just that she's having to deal with managing this as a chronic issue, whereas the other person, it was up and down based on other issues that were going on in his life. The stress for her was really, really significant. So she was always coming in really with high anxiety. And this is before we had the software change where it was just organs balance. But she was very much in high sympathetic mode. She was kind of an anxious person anyway, but this health issue was creating even more anxiety, health anxiety for her, and a lot of discomfort. So these are the kinds of patterns that you will see in a digestive sort of irregularity, is a lot of ups and downs, even though, like, as far as what priority, what system to prioritize for her. But number 13 at this time, coccyx pelvis. So she couldn't do some body work and things to just sort of keep herself at ease. So her nervous system was always on high charge as well. And you can see that most of the areas for where her digestion were all lower. They're all going into the low zones, and the immune system is low. She's constantly fighting infection, and also scar tissue and things that are there because of the complications of the device or the mesh that she had in her. Okay, so we're going to go into the next pillar, which is the autonomic nervous system. But are there any questions from what I just presented? Or are there 1,000 questions?
Her HS was quite low, right? In that last patient?
Yes,
The,
go ahead, Dr. Shreesh.
yes.
I'm sorry, could you ask again? I didn't hear your question.
That last patient had her HS score was on the low side, and there was, how are this, how would you interpret that?
Let me go back in. This, are you saying the whole quantitative number is low?
Yes, yes.
Okay, it's actually not really low, and it's in the green zone. If it was low, it would be in the orange or pink. So
Thank you.
yeah, so these are actually, when you see green in the software, it's still within the so-called norm range. But when you see parasympathetic or sympathetic go in where they become a lack of coherence between the brain hemispheres, you can see one go pink, one be orange. You could see them be in the two different colors of yellows as well. So this is actually within a norm range. And the biggest thing is, remember that we just want those numbers to be as close to each other as possible. It's not so important what that number is. Thank you for that. Okay. All right. If there's no other questions, all right, so what I want to do is take you back into, we're going to go into here, the autonomic nervous system. Now, I mean, this is really our entire feature of being alive, is our whole, as you can see from this image, it pretty much has to do with every organ system in our body. And we cannot not involve the spine or the parasympathetic or sympathetic nerve fibers in anything we do. Our whole thing is to find within our dynamics of being alive, to find that homeostasis, even though there's nothing homeostatic about it. I actually believe I like the term better of homeodynamic, so that we are adapting to the things that are going on in our lives. Okay, so the common issues here, and there's a reason I didn't change the colors, is because we're talking about stress of all kind, parasympathetic and sympathetic. Now, parasympathetic is like when a person is stuck. They can't make a move. It's like the brakes are stuck on. And usually, I find, has a lot to do with an emotional way of thinking and being in the world. And then the sympathetic can be like a person that survives on stress. It's like they need to drink the blood of others in order to stay alive or something. That sounds very vampiric, but they survive on stress. That sympathetic nervous system needs to constantly be fed. But there's a time where we have to find that equilibrium between when the brake goes on and when the gas pedal is being utilized. So that and both model. So much of what we will see here is lifestyle, people sitting too much. We'll see total spine, like what we just saw when we saw the case with the insomniac person and GI issue, where you saw the whole spine light up because there's just so much stress going on there, and also lack of brain coherence. The biggest thing to pay attention to here is the lack of brain coherence. And that will give you the insights of where to work first. And just as a note from one healer to another, is we always want to help people when they're about to receive any kind of energy work or any kind of healing, bring down the tone of the nervous system as possible first. I love using the BioWell sound recording because it's personalized for the person, and you can do it in less than 9 minutes. And you make the person receptive to that which you are about to engage in next. It's really vital, I have found. So now taking us back into here, and we'll go into the autonomic nervous system for this person. Take you into compare. And so this is interesting because typically this is a teenage athlete, and what he has is oftentimes we can describe like adrenal stress as being kind of almost a tired and a wired feeling. So when you see these kinds of breaks, they can be temporary because with a little bit of rest and some good water and some sunshine and food, those breaks can immediately go away because our bodies can respond very, very quickly. But when we've been in a chronic state for a period of time, where we are robbing from Peter to pay Paul and our energy reserves are tanked, then it can start to look like this over time, and the field gets smaller and smaller and smaller as well. So this person had a lot of erraticness in their system, and this kind of just a lot of ups and downs, a lot of emotional ups and downs. So high stress. This is a sympathetic overload. This is a great picture of a person who is highly fatigued but doesn't know it, won't give himself the rest. And this is saying take rest. And he won't. So this is what looks like a tired and wired feeling, and is a classic kind of thing. This is an extreme kind of experience. And then you will also see it takes a lot to make the balance go low. It takes a lot for that to happen. Even though this is an optimal range of only 10 points, this really means that we're robbing from the body's ability to self-restore. So Dr. Shirish, here's an example of where you will see the right hemisphere for this scan is in norm range, but the left hemisphere is in the low, is in the, I said norm range, and then this one is in the low range. So you can see where there's a parasympathetic dissonance. That's what I would call this, a parasympathetic dissonance. Perfect. And you can see here that the reserve is 20%. And I think in the other scan, it's a 0%. Oh no, 29%. Okay, there's another person that's a 0%. I've measured myself at 0%. It happens. I just rob from myself a little too much, and then I have to do something in order to get myself back into good form. So the opportunity, obviously, with the BioWells to be able to see that ahead of time and then read these tea leaves so that you can adapt and address. So some of it, and actually his mom is a nutritionist. So he eats really, really, really well. So all of this other sort of stuff that's going on for him is literally an emotional nervous system kind of picture. That's what and for all of you, most of you know here that when we see more than 7 or 8 bars lit up on the balance tab, we have to work with the nervous system first. because otherwise you can't work on all these different systems at the same time. It's overwhelmed for the body. And then the biggest flag here is how low. See, if you look in the background of the software, there's the green, there's the first phase of low and the second phase of low. So the orange and the pinks are representing the low ranges. And then always on the y-axis, you're going to have the numeric values there as well. And you will only see the yellows when in this balance tab is when actually a person is scoring high or one of these organ systems is scoring high. So the number 5 is the liver. There's a lot hormonally going on with this person, tired and wired, burning adrenaline like crazy. And this is adrenal fatigue. So this is where the adrenals are, you can see it's shadowed here, and it may not be lit up, but it's already fallen into the low zone. So these are things to be, on watch for, to pay attention to these subtle changes. On this day, he was in a little bit of a better mood, but still way too much charge in his system, as we saw here. So he may have been in a better mood, but his sympathetic system, that is a classic tired and wired view. So if you've never seen what that is, or even have had that term mentioned to you, this is exactly what this looks like, tired and wired. Cool. All right. So the next one I have for the nervous system, let's let that load, going into here. And this was, this is a person chronic stress. So this is what chronic stress looks like, as I was just explaining. This person, I only have 2 scans for him, but it's a regular, this is what his scans normally look like. So it is, these are all systems being affected. As I was mentioning about how the analysis of when you see high anxiety, high energy, and yet the energy is still it's a bit on the low side. So I would like to see most of us score in the 50s and 60s, high 50s and 60s. But everybody needs to be their own control, of course. But for this person, I don't remember his age, but I believe he's in his late 40s. I would expect that with these, actually I have 3 scans on him, with these 3 scans, that we would be able to see some measure of change. And these going into these low phases, this person is constantly robbing from his own energy bank. And here it's saying, this one was take rest. This was because, what was that? Oh, this was interesting. This is an emotional response. He popped out of his healing environment because all of a sudden he felt a vulnerability. And what his system immediately went into high alert. Oh my God, I got to get out of here because there's vulnerability there. That's a fascinating finding right there. So anyway, just want to show you this person manages pretty dang well given that he's under chronic stress, but you can see the energy reserve is 40% here, 53%, 45%. He's able to manage, but he is paying the price. His liver is paying the price. All of these systems are really much more in the low than they are in the heightened. So this is where, when you see the energy fields where they look like this kind of really staticky, then this is, you're dealing with a lot of stress. Now the job is to figure out where's that stress coming from. because as mentioned, it could be coming from psychological, it could be coming from an illness, it could be coming from any of those different points. Let's see. Let me go back. Clear these. Clear that. Database. Okay. So before I move into the emotions, which is the fourth pillar, and then we're going to open it up. We're going to open it up where the first, I'll let you know. I don't want to spoil it. We're going to open it up so I can look at some cases of yours in the next little bit here. We're doing good on time. So back into the slides, just want to show you where we're going from here. So really important determination here is in the type of stress also that we're talking about. Emotions are interesting because obviously we can have positive emotions and we can have distressing emotions. And I'm using Hans Selye's work here. The eustress means excitement type of energy. And this whole list here is really helpful to be able to think about it, because our software, I am pleading to Konstantin and the group in Russia to please take anxiety off of the way that, as you were just seeing in the analysis tab, that it's not always anxiety. I'm in the midst of doing my PhD dissertation right now, and I measured people in India at a sacred space, and their anxiety went through the roof. It's not anxiety. It was euphoria. It was creativity. It was this incredible energy moving through. So I think I finally won. But we used to call it emotional pressure, and that wasn't right either. And so now it's just called stress, but then the terms are not correct. So this slide is meant to inform you when we're speaking about emotions. Let's take into consideration who is the person that you're looking at. What do they feel like to you? Are they in a creative zone of place, because they may not be feeling very reachable to you, but their creativity is like on the mark and they're just like firing on all cylinders and doing great. But sometimes when you see a person in that zone, they don't necessarily have accessibility towards you. So take all of these things into consideration. Motivation, it's kind of short-term, usually bursts of energy. And the EU stress is about what we can cope with, what feels good to our body. It feels exciting. It's anticipation energy. And ultimately, it's what improves our performances. So distress can show up in all kinds of ways: psychological, in illness, in our immune system, our mind-body connection or disconnection, as we're seeing. There was something really important I want to go back and show you. This woman that was in so much pain, she was out of her body a lot. And I'll show you what that looks like when I go back into the software. So that was the woman that had the mesh that was on the recall. So she just had to kind of just jettison her body at times. Okay, so with the distress, this includes anxiety. It's and I mean like anxiety, like the DSM-5, usually that definition, even though I have a little bit of a different definition of anxiety. The typical definition of anxiety, of an anxious person: palms sweating, not being able to equalize, maybe have physical issues such as panic attacks, where they might mentally short circuit. They don't really have an ability to perform. It's like when anxiety gets so much that they actually fall away from tasks instead of engaging with them. So it can go either way. And usually it means that we're outside of our ability to cope in that regard. So I'm going to take you with me into the software now. I will show you that case I'm speaking of for her. Let me find out which one had. So you can see when you're looking on the right side of the screen. So this incredible disconnect from her body. She just, this was probably one of the sessions where she was saying how she just wanted to check out. So when you see patterns like this, you want to ask more questions because the person isn't super engaged in their physical body. So I've measured kids like that too, that live in a really stressful or traumatic environment or have an illness. So, and a lot of autistic children. I'm actually in the midst of designing another study right now, working with autistic children who are savants. And pretty much they all measure where they're out of their body, just as an aside. Okay, so going into this is a child who has a broken heart. And this is the emotions. What? Something didn't go correctly there. 1 second. I clicked on something. All right, here we go. Okay, so this this is what a broken heart or a grieving heart or someone who's dealing with loss can look like. It's why is it on the right side of the screen and the left side of the body? Because it's having to do with their own internal world. You know, somebody can't come along and just magically heal our grief for us. So this is it's your heart goes out to them, right? It's like it's like, oh, child, you know, but this is very real to be able to see how it is that they cope with situations. And the stress is pretty unbearable because this child doesn't know how to deal with these kind of stressors, these adult type of things. So just wanted to show you how that it's less on the physical, it's much more on the energetic and emotional. So hence spending most of the time in the chakras. Plus we're talking about the pillar of emotions, and that's really where you want to be paying attention to. So when let me go X out of that. And when we go into here, you can see that their nervous system is just a kind of on a high charge, doesn't really know how to deal with this kind of stress or engage with it. So when our young ones lose someone, something, a pet, you know, an animal, or and my brother used to have all kinds of reactions just to watching wild animal something. It was a show that was on when we were kids, and he would just cry. So if I had a measurement of him, it would probably be that kind of response, because it really affected him for like a week later to see an animal get hurt or something like that. So children, even though they can be really erratic to measure, being able to see what's going on with them is very, very helpful. So this is a really cool case that's loading now. And this is where an aha happened for a person. So this was with the use of a filter and no filter. And what happened here is this person was highly disconnected from their emotions and unfortunately dealing with a lot of physical issues, a lot of heart issues, didn't really know what vulnerability meant. In looking it up in the dictionary, he would say that sounds like hell for a person to actually be vulnerable in their lives. So this was a real awakening for this person. So we're seeing the before and the after, the before on the left side and the after on the right, meaning, oh, sorry, I don't mean to say after, I mean to say with filter. This is no filter, which means that we are seeing all the emotional stress. And then with filter means that we are just seeing only the physical. So when you look at these two differences, you go, wow, my emotions are really having an effect on my whole body. And so really what we pay attention to here is the one with no filter. The one with filter, we don't look at the chakras so much because we're taking them out. So you can see that the stress in the anxiety is through the roof, and also in the organs disbalance, where such a And what's so interesting is about vulnerability, you saw the same person that I was explaining about when vulnerability came up, he wanted to leap off the table. And so this is now when this person is like having a realization, then really amazing things got to come into this person's consciousness. And he's been doing great transformative work on himself and being able to find how feeling his emotions are really helping to liberate himself. So this was a real amazing opportunity. This is very telling. So we're looking at the one with filter right now. This is the one with no filter. So it tells you, wow, my mind, the way I feel about things, the way I think about things is having such a profound effect on my whole body. It's pretty astounding. Let me clear here, go to database, and wanted to show you. So this is with filter, this is without filter. So this person has been dealing with, I think it's heart issues and prostate and urinary issues and sleep issues. So there were lots of things that were coming up. Okay, so let me stop sharing now and tell me if there are any questions. Oops, I lost you on Zoom. Okay, there we go. Any questions?
I have a question.
Okay, hi Vanessa.
Hi. So what you with the filter, is that different than when the demonstration that you did on that video with the gloves that you took out the fingers? Is
Yeah.
that the same thing?
Do you mean are you saying that the demonstration I did with the glove where there was no fingers is about adding more charge to the body?
Okay, but that includes the emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The reason that you would use the glove like that, and for those that don't know what she's talking about, let me see if I can put my hand on it. I took a glove and cut off the fingers. Now, why would you do that? If a person is so stoic and they're not releasing anything, you'll see this a lot with cancer, where in the emotions, there's so much repressed energy that they barely move on the emotional scale, on the stress scale in the analysis tab. And so when you give them the glove, all of a sudden that organ system will pop out. So you can use it with filter, but it kind of doesn't matter because what you're doing is just perturbating the system further. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay.
So it's a totally different use of an accessory. The filter is,
Taking out the emotions.
yeah, I mean, it's not really going to, that person isn't in touch with their emotions anyway. And so you're looking to, because if exercise didn't make something pop out, then the glove is going to make something pop out.
Okay. All right.
Makes sense?
Yes,
Cool.
it does. Thank you.
Mike and Eva. Mike, you're first. Oh, I think he might be frozen. Okay, I think he's frozen. Eva, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yes, my question is like, how many like bars do you need to see or to consider like looking into the nervous system instead of looking system by system?
7 or 8. When you see 7
Okay.
or 8 bars lit up, but then also remember to look at organize the system because there's
Yeah.
like 5 different bars for 4 or 5 different for the spine. So you've got cervical, you've got thoracic, you've got lumbar, you've got coccyx pelvis.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. But it's always a good thing to see. And also when you're seeing the spine light up, like I was showing you in some of these cases,
Uh-huh.
that could be a lot of stress. It's not just that a person has maybe some spinal issue, but the autonomic nervous system.
It is altered.
Yes.
Okay.
Trudy, please message Katie Katie, because she can answer you. I can't answer you in direct in this way. It's great to see you here, Eva, too. Okay, we lost Mike, so we'll come
Thank
back.
I'm back.
Oh, there you are. Hi. You had a question,
Hi.
my dear.
Yeah, I just had a clarification. You mentioned the glove and the charging. You mentioned also stoic individuals, but you didn't mention, and I'm using mine even more, especially for like scanning my mom who's elderly and doesn't have a lot of moisture. So is that still applicable?
Oh, that's a good idea. I haven't tried it with such a person, but let's try that.
Cool. Yeah, I find that I can't really get her to have enough of enough variation unless I have her put the glove on, because her hands are so incredibly dry. There's just no
Right.
moisture. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Yes, I do. And it's a good way to add a little emphasis and energy there so that you can actually see it pop out.
Exactly. It gives me a bigger delta.
Yes, exactly. Um, okay, cool. Eva, do you have another question, or is that just your hand?
Yes, if you have like the studies or something done in elderly people, because I see quite a bit.
Well, then we should be talking about those, Eva, because I have a whole mixture and I
Okay.
haven't looked at a certain age because who we call elderly, it's not really entirely fair because you can have somebody who's 80 plus
Mm,
90 years old and they're not elderly. And then you can
mm,
have somebody who's like 60 and they seem elderly,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's um that's a thing to
Okay. Okay.
have a consideration of. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, okay, great. Thank you. You got some. All right, so I'm gonna go back into here. I just wanted to show you this. This is distress, extreme anxiety, sorrow, pain, stress. It's just feeling anxiety or some pressure. But so there's a difference between anxiety being like gonna cause a panic attack and anxiety of excitement. And the eustress is positive. So these are just giving you some visuals on it. So one of the beautiful things is that we're actually visualizing the autonomic nervous system and how it regulates in biophotonic patterns. I think it's one of the coolest things. And hang on, did something? Oh, okay. That's weird. I just want to remind you that we are having a early bird. The early bird rate is on for our March course, and we're also having the free orientation training. Even if you don't have a BioWell, you're invited to have a little bit more FaceTime where I go through how to set up your BioWell, but also go through a case. And so that's available and on the site now. And what we go through are essentially the 25 principles of the BioWell. This is something that Dmitry Mitya Orlov created, and I totally restructured it and edited it and made it into modules. So these are some of the things that you will get in there. And to understand that lifestyle is our number one issue with illness and how we are managing our energy. So, wrong mindset, incorrect interaction with the world, how we see the world. It's like our perspective. The energy level, it's our metabolic imbalances over accumulation of toxins. And physiological level is symptoms. Oh, by the way, one of the other reasons that I didn't mention when I was speaking about the GI is one of the main reasons that liver will come up a lot when we're looking at the gastrointestinal system is because we're dealing with so many more toxins than we've ever had to deal with. And our livers are having to constantly filter that out. And then it dumps into the digestive system in order to be eliminated. So it's this, we have to be thinking about this sort of catch, bind, release kind of vibe. So this accumulation of toxins made me remember that it was just a little memory peg I wanted to share with you. So physiological level, symptoms in the terminal stage are, when a person is already showing symptoms, it doesn't mean that symptoms are then immediately into terminal. It just means that there's two different levels there when we take this more Ayurvedic approach or looking at a whole lifestyle. The exceptions are congenital illnesses, that they kind of fall out of these spheres a little bit. So I mentioned this earlier, and I think you all get that this is just what we're here doing as change agents in the world, is to help people transform so that they can actually see what it is that's going on in their bodies. And thoughts create hormones. Every thought creates a hormone. It's something freaking phenomenal to think about. And then energy follows thought. So this is why those spheres are interrelated and important. And then the hormones ultimately create the organs and the tissues of our body. So vibration moves into what is the sensation, meaning the emotions, the resonance, what we're feeling, what we're not feeling. And the body will store things, store information that is there in the form of feelings and emotions. And emotions ultimately move into the patterns and conditions, and we get to measure them. So it's always going to be about people making choices. And then the beautiful thing about when we can get conscious about making choices, and we can help a person such as that elderly man, and he was elderly. He had a lot of stuff going on, and he was in his late 70s, where he was just fully realizing how disconnected he had been from his whole body, his life. And the BioWell gave him that aha. So, all right. So whatever we have time to do here in these next 30 minutes, I want to have 3 people send me a scan, and you can send it to Tiffany B for those that don't know how to already send in the software. And we'll put that in the chat, and then it'll come right into the software so that I can, perfect, thank you, Casey, so I can manage the inflow. I have a hard stop at 6 because I have an event that I have to get to tonight. So 6 my time. Some of you are in different time zones. Edel, you're in the dark. So does anyone want to send me scans to look at? Is there anything burning, and are any other questions on your mind before we have to depart one another? No questions? I can't believe it. That means I did a thorough job, or it means none of this made any sense and there's no questions for you. Okay, I accept the compliment. However, I don't believe you. Great. Natalie, are you a naturopathic physician? Am I recalling that correctly from the Telegram group? Okay. If you're speaking, I can't hear you. Sound therapist. Oh yes. Okay. I know your name. You've been in class before. Fantastic. Great. Great. So any scans to send me? Nasli?
Yes, I sent you 2 of mine,
Okay.
just for comparison, potentially.
Okay. Great. May I pull up because you're in my database already, so may I pull up?
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Yes, please.
Thank you. All right. So thank you for your willingness to share. Okay, so now I need to release all of them. And let's see, do I have a new one here? Oh, Trudy, I have one from you. Oh, Tom, you sent, and Dror sent, and Nasli. Okay, great. So let me see if, perfect. All right, so that will take us through. Okay, great. Do I have the most recent ones here? It looks like they didn't necessarily come in. Hold on. I wonder if I have you in two different. Oh, it's still loading. That's what's happening. Okay, got it. Okay, so let me go here and see if I can pull them all up. So when were these ones?
About 2, 3 weeks ago, I believe.
Okay, so they are here then. Okay. Okay, so one was from today or yesterday, and one was from the 8th. Okay, perfect. Okay, great. Do you have any area for me to particularly focus on as these are loading?
Yes, please. So one thing that I haven't quite been able to figure out is ever since I've had the BioWell, my solar plexus chakra has been to the very far right. And it doesn't move much. All my other chakras will move around, but that one tends to always be there. And I'm very curious as to, I think I kind of might know, but I would love to hear your interpretation of it, please.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And this is a pretty consistent pattern for you. So when we think about, and then let me just take a look here, because even though it's not, chakras, they still map to the endocrine system, right? The entire chakra system maps to there. So I think it's interesting that we're seeing the liver here, and I'm just looking to see there's a consistent pattern of your liver. So except for that one that you just did yesterday, did you do anything different with your diet or anything else? This was just from a week ago.
I had a sound therapy healing session done on me, which was quite powerful.
Okay, well that is certainly the right ticket for you. Okay, so can you see what I did? I immediately went into the organ system of where the solar plexus sits is close to the liver. Okay, so I do want you to be thinking about some physiology that relates to the endocrine system, because of course that it does make a little bit of sense, right? So let's look here in the norm range. You're all in the norm range as far as the energy here, and it's a pretty consistent pattern when we look at the liver. A little bit high, maybe on the right side, so it would be more of the right lobe of the liver. If I were in your shoes, I don't know if you're asking me for advice beyond this, but I would maybe do some sweeping of the liver and like pranic healing or something like that, some liver energy holds.
Okay.
And let's go back into here, where if we look at the chakras and we can see consistently. Okay, so we know that this chakra, and they're all pretty consistent in the size as well. So we know that this chakra has a lot to do with personal power.
Okay.
So did this open up for you, this little window?
Yes.
Okay, great. So this is what I was saying earlier for people who don't speak chakra. And by the way, do you use your sound recording at all for yourself?
Yes, sometimes, not as much as I should myself.
I know, me too. I hear you. So do you feel empowered in order to do the things that you want to do in the world? Are you showing up for yourself? Do you
No.
I'm just giving you I'm giving you a whole bunch of questions here. Do you make promises to yourself that you don't keep?
Okay.
Okay, so these are things because it has to do with our own willpower, but also our consistency and our persistence there. And so, but I also have to ask, is there someone in your life that likes to kibosh your power?
My daughter. I think it's because she's my greatest lesson in how to be myself, but like to help her own her power, because she's a very strong-willed little girl, and I want to maintain that for her. I don't, but also I have to be a parent, and I
Yeah.
find it hard to balance the two because I want her to have a strong will, which I
Yeah.
have myself, but I also need to put my foot down with her, which I think I've allowed her to have too much will. And it's kind of now creating a little bit of distress and maybe anger. The liver could be that, maybe the anger part of it, where we're kind of hitting a block with each other.
Totally. Yeah. And I just want to point your awareness here that when you look in, even though we pretty much think about the chakras, as I mentioned, for mostly psychospiritual, emotional, energetic, there's still that relationship, A, by proximity, as I was mentioning, and the, okay, well, gosh, what's going on in my life that has to do with, am I absorbing sweetness? Am I absorbing my nutrients? And then also where you have challenges in relationships. So it's, thank you for speaking to that, because this is really beautiful and so clear that, and it's such a consistent thing. Whoops. For you to look at, and for you to get in touch with, maybe there was something in your own childhood that this is like a story kind of repeating itself a little bit.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
Absolutely.
that would be the thing to work on, to
Okay.
get free of, and then she doesn't need to be your teacher anymore in that way.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah,
that clarity. I appreciate it.
you got it. Of course. Fantastic. All right, and then we have other ones that were sent. So, Trudy, I'll go back and look at yours in just a second. So, Tom, you sent one. Do I have permission to open it before?
Yes, you do.
Okay, great. Thank you. Oh, goodness. Okay. So, a lot of stress going on for this person.
Yeah, so I use mine because I'm an energy healer,
Yeah.
and you know a few other things that I do as well.
Yes.
But you know, just when the client comes in, you can tell that they're really out of whack. So a lot of times when you're speaking to them, they don't always acknowledge or understand. So when I can use the BioWell on them,
Yeah.
got the scientific aspect of it, and they believe that more. So
They,
it's interesting because this gentleman is a healer as well.
uh,
Just kind of getting into it, and you know, by looking at the lack of energy and other things that he has going on, like my recommendation is to make sure that you're your best self before you start healing others.
oh gosh, yeah.
You know, in the spiritual aspect of things, you can actually give somebody your junk.
Yeah, we've seen
Best
that.
place.
There's a
Yeah,
couple people on this webinar with us live now that could speak to that.
right.
Yes, it's a very significant thing, and I'm so glad that he's got you to tell him this truth. So you can see energy reserve is 0, and are the light bulbs going on for him when you are showing him these details?
Yeah, I think he knows for the most part, but you know, he's kind of headstrong and just wants to keep pushing. And I said, you've got to take care of yourself, otherwise you won't be around.
Well, I don't think so. I just want to give you my intuitive hit. I think he has
Yes.
entities.
Yes.
So maybe doing some removal of those energies that are glomming onto him can help, because this is excuse me, you're right, this person has no business working on anybody else.
Right. And I just wanted to say something else about the chakras.
Yeah.
I also use a device called the Aura Cloud, which does, you know, the aura readings with the chakras and everything.
Yeah.
So people shouldn't get like too bent out of shape when they see that their chakras are all over the place, because you can only truly get in total alignment with your chakras when you're in meditation.
Yep.
And when you start coming out of meditation and back into the physical world, your emotions and thoughts start going all over the place, and then your chakras can become disaligned again.
Well, let me actually show you something that you mentioned here, because this is a person on antidepressants.
Mhm.
So they're under a ton of stress. You can see that in the field.
Right.
And of all three scans, they're all the same. And the person is on treatment. So
Sure.
right? So it's absolutely true. We expect that chakras need to move around. So if you see this kind of thing where the chakras are not really moving, that is a for sure sign that there's probably some sort of intervention or dampening of those systems, because we do expect that things move around as they should move around. So thank you for bringing this to the forefront of this conversation.
Tiffany,
Yes.
can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Could you clarify that you saw the entities based on what you saw in the BioWell, or if that was just an intuitive hit?
Intuitive.
I'm
Yeah.
getting questions about that.
Yeah. So what I was mentioning is that I think I prefaced by saying intuitively, I believe he has entities. And when you see energy so tight like this, where it's all super small, I tend to, and it's not temporary. If you see it kind of over and over again, I realize we're only looking at one scan right now, but this has probably been this way for a while to get all of this, because I can measure myself in energy reserve 0, and yet all my red and orange lines are in the norm range or in heightened range. So it's not, what I'm seeing here is a hijacking of energy. So it would give you pause. And there's something I would say that the focus, because there's so much going on in the cerebral zones, this is dangerous territory, Tom. So I hope you can help him make a change.
Yeah, I'm definitely working with him quite a bit. But yeah, he's just really highly agitated and stressed out most of the time.
His
Um,
energy's being hijacked, and I really
yeah,
think for maybe refer him out so that you're not dealing with the entities. And if
sure,
you, I am sure you have people, but if you need a referral, let me know.
sure,
I don't do that work anymore, but it's important to do.
right.
Yes, perfect. Any more here, Tom?
No, that I just wanted you to take a look at that.
Great.
I find it
Thank
an interesting case study that a lot of people might not see.
Yeah, thank you for that. Super helpful. Great. And drawer, I see yours here. And do I have permission to pull it up?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. I think I have some others in my database for you as well. Okay, give me a focus of where you would like me to go look, or do you just need general? Ah,
No, just
what's
general.
happening? What what's going on? Sorry, drawer. Say that again.
Just a general evaluation.
Okay. So what's happening that are you living really, really advanced in the future or something?
Oh, just in the Holy Land. So maybe it's the holiness.
Um, okay, so you're a physician. Are you still right? You're still practicing?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And you give a lot. You've got the energy for it, but okay, so when can you give me an idea what was going on for you when you took the scan?
Nothing much.
Was it after
Nothing.
a day's work?
Yes, yes, it was.
Okay. Do you have an awareness that you go into an altered state when you work with someone?
Yes.
I think you were still in an altered state when you took this.
Okay.
So I'm because everything, I mean, look at everything is in the norm range besides liver. Um, and I can go look in my database, but you can, yeah, more energy on the right side. That certainly makes sense of the brain. And when we show area, come on. Yeah, this is all beautiful. A little bit on the transverse colon. Maybe you were still processing lunch or something or another meal. Were you hungry?
No, no.
Okay. Then likely what you had eaten prior was still working in your system because the pancreas is still lit up. So if you recall, when was this? This was on the 1st of December. Do you recall what you were doing and having eaten?
No, it's just like post-work, like probably late
You ate
after work.
late?
No, I'm eating lunch and that's it, like one meal a day. So it's probably like 6 hours after lunch or something.
Okay. Well, you said you weren't hungry, and so there's a little clinical pearl here because sometimes when we're not hungry, it can mean that our liver is sluggish. And here, your pancreas is lit up and you hadn't eaten for 6 hours. So that's a good indicator that you should be hungry and probably wanting to engage with food. So these are kind of questions that you can ask when you see a pattern like this. But I also believe that, I ran a chronic healing clinic for 5.5 years where we measured people before and after, the healers before and after, and then the people who were at the clinic before and after. It was a lot of measurements, and it was when we had the GDV. It was not the BioWell. It wasn't so easy to operate. And we found that most healers took so much, it took like 20 minutes at least with a concentrated effort of going outside, getting grounded, having food, doing something in order to get fully back in their body. So some of that is also here. But you also cut off your you cut off your left forefinger on the top, and then these are not good thumb measurements. The taking of the thumb. Okay, we need it to be more like, oh, and Tom, you cut off a little bit of this for that guy too, just on the thumb. So the thumb needs to be more rounded, drawer. This
Okay.
looks like you only got the very tip of the thumb. Your thumb, our thumb is our biggest finger, and look, it looks smaller than your middle finger.
I see.
So work on evening those up as well.
Okay.
Yeah. But my feedback to you is the biggest thing. And also with the heart and the crown chakra being the most furthest out, it's typically somebody who's a giver with their energy. And if that heart hangs out on the on the right side of the body, left side of the screen, when that happens, you might want to get into questions of codependency and things like that. I don't feel that that's what's happening for you. I think that this is one of these things where you are an intense outreacher with your heart.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. And Trudy, I'm seeing yours here. I think you just wanted me to see your fingers. Way better with the fingers. Really, really good job. Trudy was in our last orientation training. Really, really good. You just cut off the left the left ring finger a little bit at the top, but really, really good. Very nice. There's an outreacher with her heart too. Trudy, are you still here?
Yes, I am. I was muted, sorry. Yes, my heart goes out to my husband who's recovering from cancer, and I'm looking after him as much as I can.
Well, beautiful. Well,
Yes,
you're doing a good job.
thank
That,
you.
that's beautiful. Yes, you're managing well. So great job. Keep up with good work on doing the fingers, and then when you come to get for the certification class, we're going to teach you how to get 4 scans, because 4 really begins science. So you want to have 4 scans, as we've been seeing here, a minimum of 2. Ideally, we have 4. But
Okay,
you can,
I'll work on that.
yeah. So just keep scanning.
I
So
will.
yeah, beautiful. Okay, so anything else in chat? Yep, perfect. We will be, let me just go back into here. Thank you for those that were wanting to send your cases. So just remember, we've got the sale happening, and I broke the rules for your benefit. I didn't know I was breaking the rules, but I broke the rules. So, and just wanted to say thank you to you all, and hopefully this has been of value to you, and looking at cases and just seeing what else we could see. So let's have some good happy holidays. The next free orientation training that is for people who are new to BioWell or people just interested is on January 6th, and you can register for that on the website, and we can stay in touch and let us know how we can support you being the change agent in the world. The thing that you will get is, if you already have this, then we'll come up with something else for you. But you get to choose one of the modules that are pre-recorded. They're still chock full of information for guidelines and clinical pearls and things like that. So on the website, you can choose whichever one you want. And Katie, will you explain how that works?
So it's 47 off the module, but if you there's 3 of them. So if you want to buy all 3, then it would just be 47 off all 3 of them. So only $47. So either get 1 free, get 2 and apply the 47 to it, or get all 3 and apply the 47. Does that make sense? I know it doesn't make sense. You get a $47 discount. That's like cash. So if you get 1 module, it's 47, so it's 0. If you get 2 modules, then you have to pay for 1 of them, so it distributes it across it. It's just the way the coupon code had to work in our system. And if you get all 3, then the 47 deducts it off all 3, just so you guys aren't confused. But you can choose one of the 3 modules, just get 1 of them, and it will be free for you. But it's a chance to get more than 1 at a discounted rate. Is that a little clear? Yeah,
Yes,
a little bit.
yes. It was. Thank you.
Okay.
These systems have so many limitations in them. I apologize within Shopify.
And the coupon code is in the chat. Casey, you want to put it again? And yes, Sharish, we will be having a workshop.
Yes. So let me speak to the new format. Thank you. So we are going to have Dimitri, because he's the inventor of the Sputnik, or the eco sensor was what it was originally, and do a 2-day accessory course. So what you're going to learn, you're going to learn about all of them, but they pretty much all interact in the same way in the software using environment mode, and the statistics work in the same way. So what we're going to do is do an experiment on day 1, and then do the analysis on the next day. So for those of you who are familiar with Dispenza and how he does some of the meditations and runs those kinds of things, then what happens is that you process, and then he analyzes, and you can see the data the next day or in a couple hours or whatever. And so that's what we want you to be able to process real time together. So you're going to run the experiment, and then we'll help you through how to make not just the measurement, but how you do the analysis. So that's going to be what did we say? January 29 and 30.
Yeah, registration isn't open yet, but you can get on the wait list. So I'll put that link in there.
Once you're on the wait list, then that will, we can just get you when it's open to send it to.
It's 29th, 30th, 11 to 5 Eastern.
Yep, January 29th and 30. So yeah, it's a great time to learn how to work the Sputnik. And there is a new Sputnik. If you have the old one, you do not need to get a new one, but this is what the new one looks like. So I had the old one forever. And then this is the one that is now the most recent design. It's pretty slick. They did a nice job on the packaging. Everything is here. And you don't have to get stuck by these dang needles, but that hurt and draw blood. But when you run the experiment, you do need to take that thing off. I think that was something that we realized. So very good. Any other burning questions before we depart one another? And thank you for sticking through and being engaging and super fun.
Trudy, I don't understand your question. Will we get an email to register?
Oh, if you sign up on the wait list, you will get the registration link for the accessories course. Yes.
Hey, Tiffany, do you have anything set up yet so we can give you our phone number? Because a lot of times I don't get my emails and I miss your emails. I don't know if you guys have gotten to that point yet where we can just give you our phone numbers and get a text message or something, because I hate getting emails. Does that make sense?
I do too, yes. We don't have a system per se, but maybe you can tell me what system I need to get, and yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'd love that. And I can talk to Katie about it, because I'd really like to be able to get a text alert, because I didn't even know that this one was happening until Katie told me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally want to be there. So that would be great. I don't know if I'm the only one who prefers getting a text message from you. Like, I don't want a text message from everybody. I just want a text message from you, and that, you know what I'm saying, right?
I do. Fair enough.
Cool. Thank you.
I get it. Thank you for that.
Tiffany, good job, and kudos for ending on time. I'm proud of you.
Yes, it was a wild card to know how that was going to go, having not done this presentation in this format before. So hopefully this is value. Would you mind putting in the chat just a single takeaway or something that you had of benefit? Do we have a poll to go out? Okay. It would be great to hear from you what else you want as far as content. We are going to be doing, for people that have BioWells, we will be doing in the new year, the study groups. So that'll be membership based.
Yeah, Sharish, the size is related to energy. And when you click on it, you'll see the joules.
Yes. It is. I hope for people who are signing off now, thank you so much and have wonderful set of holidays, and look forward to seeing you. Thank you, Nasli. Thank you for letting us engage with you and learn from your solar plexus and your liver and your daughter and the family.
Anytime.
Appreciate it. Have fun. Oh, people had a horrible time? Oh gosh.
No, 5 is amazing.
I know, but there's a vote of one vote for one, which is horrible.
Maybe they got the scale confused.
I hope so.
Andrew, you sent that to me. Andrew wanted to tell you thank you, Tiffany.
Oh, absolutely, Andrew. Great to see you again.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Great to see you, Randall. I know we've got some stuff to talk about. So funny. I've been writing about parametric Paramagnetic stone. Sorry, paramagnetic stone. And
Is it really that funny?
no, it isn't that funny. It's just amazing. But I've got one of his books right here, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, that whole unfoldment is really happening now since we've talked about that last. So
Yay. Well, we must connect. Paul and I said that, so we will find some time if you're going to be around in the holiday time too.
absolutely, absolutely. Please appreciate your time. You guys all have a beautiful day.
You too.
Forward
Thank
to
you.
seeing you soon, Tiffany. Bye-bye.
Bye, Vanessa.
Hi, good to see you. Thank you. It was awesome as usual.
Oh, good. Thank you for the feedback. And much love to Nala and Tango there too. Bye,
Good to
Lynn.
see you, Lynn.
Thank you. Lynn, you look really well. Whatever you're
Yes.
doing, keep doing. Oh, you're muted.
Thank you.
Adele, what time is it for you?
Thank you, Lynn.
Yeah, you. I'm talking to you.
I think he's on the same time.
No, it's 7:15.
Oh, that's right. You're in Atlantic time.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Very
Thank
cool.
you very much.
Thank you, Edel. So good to see you. I hope we can see you in Florida in person.
Yes.
Awesome. We will make that happen. And Magdalena, you came late, but is that really who you
Oh,
are?
he's Christian.
Oh, it's Christian. Ah, very good. Hello. No problem. Great. Thanks for the feedback, Charles.
Romania. Awesome. Glad to have you.
Beautiful. Fantastic. It's like midnight there? No, more than.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear
Hello.
me?
Yes.
Okay, it's 1 o'clock in the
Yeah, one.
evening. It's fine for me. I came late, but it was very interesting what you said. And I want to exchange some of my achievements with BioWell. I'm working with them with 4 years, so I have some experience that I want to share with you sometime.
Will you set up a time for us?
When you want, I can manage with my wife that is also a therapist. We are therapists. So
Wonderful.
maybe we'll figure out on the email so we can exchange some of our experiences.
I would love that. And the thing is that would you go on the website, and it's on Heal and Thrive, and my calendar is there. At the top of the year, I have spaces open for consults. So if you just make that time there, it'll automatically change the time zone. So to find something that matches for us.
Okay, it's fine.
Yeah.
We have a very interesting last year, I've made some measurements with Sputnik in a specific space when there was 3 spirits. And my wife is a theta healing worker.
Okay.
So I measured when she managed to clear the space, and the energy was very low, and after she completed, the energy grow higher.
Wow.
So it was very interesting to measure it.
Love it. It is so fascinating to measure it that we can actually put some quantification around all of this. It's incredible.
Yes, it's true. It's true.
Love it.
I work with another device, and when somebody has an entity the device is making me trouble. It's blocked. So I have to stop the computer and work with Palo Santo and some other, and the entity goes out. I had 18 cases in 3 years, and only 2 cases I couldn't do anything, but only my wife, because she has a greater power with dealing with demons and something like that.
Fantastic. Wow. So good. They need to get taken care of and sent off, but we have to engage.
Sometimes it's not only we have to do this. It's God that makes all
Of
this.
course. Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
it's very interesting when you can measure it with the machines, with the
Yes.
device.
It's so true. We have such fortune with being able to use these devices now.
Yes.
It's great.
You have a very good soul. I
Aw,
can see in your eyes.
thank you for that. Takes one to know one.
4 years ago, suddenly came this power, let's say power. When I touch somebody, I can receive an SMS from his higher entity, and the people are very, very shocked when I say something that goes straight to their heart. It's very insulting, but also as a therapist, it grows the confidence in our capabilities, and they open the gate of the city where we can put our best best words what to do, but they are only that can purify and harmonize their body.
Mhm.
We are just coaches,
Exactly.
nothing more.
No, we just
We are not healers, we are just coaches.
yes, and in
Thank
fact,
you very much.
that's actually how I opened as well today in saying that the person is doing all of the healing. We're just
That's
facilitating
right.
and helping to sometimes direct traffic. So
Super, super. Thank you very much.
lovely to connect with you. I will look forward to grab the link. Katie put it in the chat. If you
Okay,
can make a time for us to connect, I would love that.
okay. All the best.
All the best. Thank you.
Okay.
Many blessings to everyone. I will look forward to. So, Jeff, please use that link as well for making a time. I just saw your your message in the chat. So much love and happy holidays. Enjoy them all. The holy nights. Let's really enjoy those too. Conjure as much, be aware of the light. I have the moon looking right at me right now. It's a beautiful moment. All right. Much love. Bye.